A long time ago in England, there was a king named King James. He was very bossy, and he would always tell the people, do what I say, or go to jail. Well, King James made a lot of rules that the people didn't like. And there was one rule that lots of people didn't like, and he said,
everyone go to my church.
And if you don't,
you go in jail.
Well, that made lots of people really unhappy. There were two people in England, Sarah and Stephen Hopkins, who were very unhappy with the king's rule. They said, we don't want to go to his church. But we don't want to go to jail. Well, Sarah and Stephen and their friends came up with an idea. They decided to go to Holland. So one night they packed their things and they snuck out of their house and left to go to Holland.
Guards, go get them.
The king sent his guards to come after them, but when the guards got there, it was too late.
Too late.
The king was so unhappy. Sarah and Stephen made it to Holland, but they weren't as happy as they thought they would be. They missed their home in England. They missed their friends and all the things about England. While Sarah and Stephen were in Holland, they met an explorer. The explorer asked them if they heard about the new land.
Have you heard about the new land?
She told them, you can make it like a New England.
You can make it like a new England.
They're Indians.
They're Indians.
We
don't know what's going on.
Do you want to go?
Yes.
It's a long trip
It's a long trip
across the ocean.
across the ocean.
Do you still want to go?
Yes.
The pilgrims were so excited. So Sarah and Stephen went back to England to get their friends. Once they were back in England, the pilgrims got a boat called the Speedwell. They said, goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
And they started to set sail. They hadn't gone very far when the captain said,
Oh no, we have to go back. There's a leak.
so they went all the way back to England and they called a repairman.
Repairman.
The repairman came and they said, can you fix our boat?
The ball is right down there.
And the repairman said, sure. And he hammered and he sawed and he nailed. And then he said, your boat is fixed.
It's so wet. The boat is fixed.
And they set sail again. They hadn't gone very far when the captain said,
Oh no, we have a leak.
so the repairman came again. And he nailed and he hammered and he sawed and he said, your boat is fixed. And they set sail again. And they went just a little ways when the captain said,
Oh no, we have to go back. There's another leak.
this time the repairman came and they asked him, they said, can you fix our boat?
Can you fix our boat?
The repairman said no. He said, you need a new boat. The pilgrims got a new boat. This boat was called the Mayflower. They said, goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
We're going to the new land.
We're going to the new land.
And they set sail. They were so excited, but it was a long, boring journey. Every morning when the kids would wake up, they would say, Mom and Dad, what's for breakfast?
Mom and Dad, what's for breakfast? What's for breakfast? Peas, corn, barley, water.
And the kids were so unhappy. But then they would say, Mom and Dad, what's for lunch?
Mom and Dad, what's for lunch? Barley, water. Peas, corn, barley, water.
Oh, the same thing again. And then they would say, Mom and Dad, what's for dinner?
What's for dinner? Peas, corn, water.
Oh.
Peas, corn, barley, water.
They got so tired of eating the same thing. After a very long time on the water, something amazing happened. Sarah had a baby boy. She named him Oceanus. Well, after they had sailed for for a long time, the sailors said, "Land ho!"
Land ho!
They had finally reached the land. Everyone got off the boat and they cheered.
Yay! Yay! Yay!
After everyone got settled in the new land, the sailors decided to go back to England. They asked the Pilgrims if they wanted to come.
Wanna come, Pilgrims? Wanna come?
And the Pilgrims said,
No.
no. So the sailors went back to England. The Pilgrims got all settled in their new cabin, but they were so cold and there wasn't very much food. That was a long, hard winter. But the Pilgrims were not alone. Someone was watching. There was an Indian named Squanto. Squanto could speak English, but he wondered if the Pilgrims were nice. He said, "Should I help them? I don't know if they're nice. I think I'll watch." So Squanto watched the Pilgrims all winter. When spring came, the Pilgrims were so excited. They came out of their cabin, and Squanto decided to go introduce himself. Squanto came over, and he said, "My name is Squanto.
My name is Squanto.
Can I help you?"
Can I help you?
And the Pilgrims said,
Yes.
the Indians decided to help them fish. They said, "We will teach you how to fish."
We will teach you how to fish.
And they showed them how to fish in the water. After some practice, the Pilgrims tried. They tried fishing as well.
This magnet doesn't work.
They were all able to catch some fish. The Indians decided to help the Pilgrims plant. They said, "We will show you how to plant."
We will show you how to plant.
They took a fish and put it in the ground and put the seed on top.
Hey, what's my nose?
Everyone took a turn taking a fish and putting it in the ground.
I'm gonna put a seed. And then it'll go this way. I just felt
When all the seeds were planted, the Pilgrims watched them grow. After the plants had grown, the Indians and the Pilgrims decided to work together to harvest. They said,
we will show you how to harvest.
and they all worked together to harvest the crops that they had planted. When all the food was harvested, they gathered in the baskets. After the Pilgrims and Indians had harvested all the food, they said, "Let's have a feast."
Let's have a feast.
And they worked together to get all the food laid out on the table.
We're working together for later. So why don't Hey! I don't have anything.
When all the food was laid out, they invited everyone to join their feast.